my veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to play, and I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day, I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no, I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capping space. I won't stop till I hear him say,
hey, welcome in. Welcome back to Actually Aubrey for Love and Marriage DC Season 2, Episode 5 called Street Fighters. Hey there, Alex. How you doing?
Doing great, doing great. Very interesting, intriguing type of episode this time around. So I kind of enjoyed it. And there were a lot of highlights in this episode.
I think so too. I thought it was a good episode. It seems like this season is moving. It's got a little more oomph to it than the first season. So maybe Monique and Chris Samuels not being here, maybe that's actually a good thing.
Yeah, and then with they finally working in the storyline for Joy. Not so much Clifton, but for Joy being in this Sherelle and Black business and all that, being part of the group Mambo Sauce. It kind of worked in a storyline for her.
Yeah, that's right. Because who would have known? So when they added Joy and Clifton, that they also added Sherelle, who ties in. Sherelle ties in. She has a relationship previously with Winter, and she had she has a connection to Joy through her husband, Black.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Yep. Welcome on in. Hey there, 18 member Roro for real. Yes. Good evening. Yes, and everybody, happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all for being here. Please go ahead and click that like button for us. Helps us get out into the algorithm, helps the channel stay alive and growing. Okay. And if you're not a member, if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button too.
Yeah, if you're out there in the shadows, don't be shy.
Don't be shy. And also, my co-host here, Alex W. Leath, you might want to go over. You definitely want to go over and sign up, subscribe at his channel. Tell him your channel name.
Magnetic Repellent.
Magnetic Repellent.
The infamous one.
Infamous? That's not a good thing.
It is for me.
Don't you mean famous?
No, infamous.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know about that, guys. I don't know if he's infamous, but he's definitely provocative.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. So, how was your day today, Alex? I'm gonna get started in a second.
Long, a little tired today. My daughter got her hair done today, braids.
Oh, yeah?
So that takes a long time. And then, I'm sitting with my 3-year-old granddaughter. So we kind of left my daughter in the salon and we kind of came back home. But, my granddaughter, she's 3, she's a handful. And then I'm trying to take care of my other business while dealing with her. So, it's it's a lot of mental stimulation that has to go into that.
Yeah. How long did the braids take for your daughter?
Ooh, 6 hours or so, 6 to 7 hours.
My goodness. You gotta send me a picture of that hairstyle. I bet it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it looks beautiful, and it'll last 2 months, so I don't have to be bothered with it.
Shut up.
So that's a good
thing. Make sure she takes care of her scalp, though. She still has to kind of sometimes oil it, or
Yeah, she has oil for that. Yeah, the beautician gave her some stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, good. I know she's gonna take good care of it. Yeah. Okay, so we'll get started. We open up this episode at the Tyler's daughter Brittany's home. Little Jamie is there, and then he kind of says, "Uh-oh, I can hear my mother's laugh down in the hallway." His mom, his dad, and Gigi are at the door, and both of the Jamies soon realize that this is like a setup or intervention. What did you think of this this scene here between the Jamies and all the women, the daughter, the wife, and the grandmother?
Yeah, I can appreciate, the sisters' effort in getting them all together in one place, even though they felt like it was an ambush or a setup. Mm-hmm. I can appreciate her wanting to fight to bring peace into that family, because she's tired of playing middleman or middlewoman or whatever. And
Mhm.
Jamie Jr. keep coming to her, and every time she's around, they're arguing and fighting, and she's just tired of it. She's like, listen, this family needs healing. We
Yeah.
got to get it together. Because if she had asked them all individually, come on by at the same time, they would have said no, because they would have anticipated the other one was going to be there. No, I'm not going. No, I'm not going. If he coming, I ain't going. It would have been all of that. So she had to trick him. She had to.
Yeah, yeah, she did, and I had to say I've been that person. I mean, I don't know about you, Alex. If you have people in your family that when they're feuding, sometimes we inadvertently end up being the middle person, right?
Mm-hmm.
We
Yep.
know whether we have siblings or whether we have children or, whomever it is, or whether it's just some of our friends that just don't get along. And you end up being that middle person. Sometimes that feels like a boatload of pressure on you, especially if it's family members, right?
Yeah.
Because you want everybody in the family to get along. You know that everybody loves each other. I believe very strongly, of course, that Jamie Sr. uh, loves, little Jamie. I believe that little Jamie loves his father. I know he loves his mother and his sister and everybody, but you just want them to get along. And life is short. Like, you never know what your last words or not speaking to someone may be the last thing that ever happens with them, right?
Yeah, you don't want that on your conscience the rest of your life.
Mm-mm.
That
No.
something you said, or something you could have said differently caused
Right.
them to harm themselves or something like that, and you got to live with that. So, because people get survivor's guilt, and that's real. You know, so
Right. Yeah, that is. That is
yeah,
real.
it's a real thing. So, but I'll say this though, Jamie Jr. He got up, he tried to run again. He's a runner, you know,
Hmm.
and he has to stop that. He got to learn how to just man up, face the music, and I understand that he wasn't raised up to do that. But you can't get up and run every time there's a problem or a crisis. And I think the counseling is good, which we'll get into later. But they did break ground at this, intervention at Brittany's house. Her name is Brittany, right? The daughter,
Yep, Brittany. Yep.
Brittany, at Brittany's house, and broke ground and said, "Listen, we do want to go, counseling. We do need the help." And they all agreed. And I think when Jamie Senior
Hmm.
agreed to go, that's when you felt everybody go. He gonna go? Oh, then let's go. So
Right.
if he's gonna bow down and go his toughest nails approach, then I think they all should go. They're basically following his lead.
Right, right, right. And everybody kind of at some point or another became emotional because senior Jamie became emotional, young Jamie became emotional, and then I think what really turned the tide also was that Gigi was there. I call her Gigi for grandma, right?
Yeah.
Grandma was there, and even young Jamie said that he couldn't stand seeing her crying and getting emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that kind of pulled on everybody's heartstrings so that everybody could see that this is really important. This is really important to the family, that just because you maybe have a good relationship with your mom or your Gigi, your grandma, the fact that you don't, as a man, have a good relationship with your father, that's really kind of a red flag in a lot of ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just important that you guys get along because, like I said again, life is short. We don't know how long we have here on this earth. And you would hate to have that survivor guilt that if something happened, wow, I wasn't even speaking to my dad. My dad wasn't even speaking to me or whatever.
Right. And I know, making, because I know I come from a family where the grandmother, my grandmother walked on water, as far as we were concerned,
Uh huh.
and if anybody in the family, any one of the guys, you know, made my grandmother cry or made my grandmother feel discontent, every man in the family was on his behind. It was no way around that. You were scared to be the one to get my grandmother upset. Because if word got out that you the one that made my grandma cry or got her upset or whatever, you better avoid the rest of the men in the family. That's just how.
Right.
But I understand they were trying to heal in that circumstance. That wasn't the time for it. But there's just families where grandmothers are so highly held up, you know, that if you just do anything to a grandma, all bets are off. All
Well,
bets are
yeah,
off.
I think yeah, you're right, because she's basically the matriarch of the family. So yeah, there should be a lot of respect for her.
Mm.
I want to ask you a question. What did you think of Jamie basically giving little Jamie the ultimatum that he had to go to counseling, or uh, he basically was saying that he couldn't live in his home anymore? I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, listen, we need the help here. Okay, we can't move forward the way we are. If you refuse to help, then why stay here? It's not going to get any better. If you're going to refuse to help and I'm submitting to the help and you're not, what good are you staying in my house? You're just going to deteriorate and make my house toxic when I'm trying to get better. So we both have to go equally, or you're going to have to go do what you do someplace else, because you're not going to make my household, you're not going to infect my household and make where I live that I've built toxic. You grown
Mhm.
now. Go do your thing. So I think that was a good position to take. But I think when everybody's seen, Jamie Sr. kind of say, we need this, I'm going to go. I think everybody was pretty shocked, you know.
Right, and I think he kind of almost mentioned something. I forget his exact words, but Jamie Senior kind of said basically, well, because maybe there's something with my parenting. I'm paraphrasing now, with my parenting or with my style that I could do better.
Mm-hmm. And then when he started crying, we haven't seen a lot of Jamie Senior, cry or break
Becoming
down or whatever,
emotional.
becoming
Yeah,
emotional, because
right,
our kids will do that. Your children, no matter how tough you are, your kids will break you down, because you want that for them. You don't want them to beat you off this planet. If the natural order of things are to take place, you have to leave here before them. You know, but so many parents have lived with that. And Jamie Senior and Elaine is like, we don't want to be those parents. We trying to
right.
save you now. But
And
but
then,
but but he
oh, go
gotta
ahead.
but he gotta agree to do that. He gotta agree to want to help. It's still his decision.
Right. Little Jamie says that since he kind of at first he was saying no, but in this scene he basically begins to come around, like we were saying, that once his father became emotional, and also when he realized that the therapy session is for us and not just for him. He said if it's not just for me and it's for us, because I don't know what this thing is with little Jamie, but basically for a while he was saying that he knows he's the only bad seed in the family, and it was like, he was just really shaming his own self. And I was kind of like, well, where does he get that mentality from? Where does he get that notion from? I couldn't quite figure that out.
Victim's mentality, wanting pity.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something I don't, maybe the therapist will be able to help him with that, because that's something I really am not quite understanding in this moment and in this scene. But we
Mm-hmm.
move on. We see uh Winter comes by to ask Sherelle to help her with an event that she wants to put together. And Winter says that if she and Ashley could get past their differences, they might be best friends. Do you believe that to be true?
That ain't gonna happen.
That ain't never happened. I think I said that she either fooling herself or she trying to fool the viewers that didn't see the first season, because there's no way they're gonna ever be best friends. First of all, my thinking is unless you're just a person that has no friends, you're not going to become best friends with somebody overnight, right?
Right. Right.
Best friends are generally people been in your life for a long period of time. They are tried and true, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. You're not going to be my best friend if I just met you last season, okay?
Mm-hmm. Especially somebody you don't trust.
And you don't trust, right? You don't get along with them. You don't trust them. You find out that they're for the streets. That's just not happening. Let me go over here to the comment section to see what everybody's saying.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to Miss QT. She's in the building, a new member. Girl, hey, how you doing? Hey there, Kirby. Hey, how you doing? Roro, Ellen, Monique. What's Kirby saying here? Let's see.
Kirby says the son needs to be kicked out so that he can finally stand on his own. That's really the answer, but it's how you do it. That's the thing. It's how you do that, because that's really the answer.
Okay,
You
okay,
know,
okay. What I mean, do you think that, like, being that right now he's not really employed full time? Do you give him a chance to get a full time job before you? I mean, you're just not throwing your son out on the street, are you?
listen, plenty of fathers have done it. Plenty of fathers have beat their sons down physically.
Well,
Okay.
I think that method, that's not something I'm going to say I agree with. I'm asking you about the actually moving them out the house. I'm not
Mm,
asking about any physical violence. I'm asking
mm.
about moving a child, an adult child, out of the house that is not employed full time.
Yeah,
And
but he,
you've got this huge house. You know, they're not living in a cramped 2 bedroom apartment.
yeah,
The
my
Tyler,
house,
the
my
Tylers,
house.
I get that is your house. But let's say it's your child and they were back at home, they had lost their job, or they didn't ever have a full-time job, whatever the case may be. Aren't you going to try to sit and put some kind of practicality and some kind of time frame to when they have to be out the house?
That part. Now I agree with you there. Give them a time frame, put some fire up under their behind, and they can't be in a situation where they like, I'm not going to take this. I don't want to do that. I don't like that kind of job. You're going to have to do something. I don't care what you like. I didn't like raising you all this time. I didn't enjoy that every moment of every day, but I did it and I did it well. Okay? So don't tell me what you don't like. Sometimes you got to do what you have to do whether you like it or not.
Yeah, yeah, like the son, not like basically saying he didn't want to take the what is that, the
Security
security
job.
guard security job. I was like, well, who else is calling right now? McDonald's? I mean, who else is
Right.
calling? Like,
Yeah.
take the job. A job is a job, and you can always move up as time goes on. You know,
Yeah. And what are you trained in? You don't have any degrees. You're not particularly educated or trained
we
in anything specific.
we don't
So
know. We don't know, but that's the thought. That seems to be the thought that is behind it. Is that, you know, or is it that, and also the fact that he has a record? He has a police record.
yeah, that's hindering his movement.
Ye-
Absolutely. You
Right.
know. And then of course Monique, of course, more the women.
Yeah, right here. Yeah, I meant
Yeah,
to put
there's
that.
yeah, kicking
What did
your
she
kid
say?
out is never the answer. LOL. I mean, women mothers, they usually say that. Fathers feel different, so
Well, I don't know. I guess I'm a different kind of mother because I both my kids knew they had to get out after they graduated high school, so I didn't give them an option, And they both did well. They both went out. They went off to college in different states. One in New York State and one in Maryland. And there's some ups and downs with the two of them on their journey to self actualization. But I think sometimes the pressure of knowing or feeling like your parent has placed that pressure, and it was something that they knew early on. I think that sometimes helps. I think that
mm,
sometimes helps, but I also think that I'm the parent. And I think parents have to be realistic. What have you done as a parent, though, to help guide them to something that's going to be a career? Because it's not just enough to get your kids in high school and let them graduate high school. You have to have them help them to prepare for a career that's going to sustain them with their bills and stuff. And we know that right now, like with the economy, you need to make a decent amount of money to survive.
and,
Oh,
and I'm
Oh, wait a
sorry.
minute.
Go
I just
ahead.
wanted to see. Now I wanted to see what Monique. I wanted to read this. It's not a gender based thing. My father would have never put any of his children out either. She's
Mm.
talking to you, Alex.
Yeah, I know. Well, my dad would have. So I mean, I guess it's
Hmm.
different for everybody.
Yeah,
I know fathers and sons. You typically operate in a different realm.
different.
With
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
yeah,
And I guess I say this, Monique, to your point. So like, it's a it's a thing where for me, I said these things to my children. I prepared them and helped them to get ready to go off to college, to be self sufficient. But honestly speaking, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm not letting my kids. If I have a home, my kids got a home, plain and
right,
simple. You know what
right.
I'm saying? Because things do happen. We know that things do happen, right?
Yeah, I
And that
mean,
you can be.
the streets are dangerous. It's a dangerous world we live in. So you don't want to put your child out there ill prepared in the street that they're not prepared to deal with the things that are out there. Because
Hmm.
again, you don't want that on your conscience. Oh, I put him out, and now he ended up in some kind of incident, and he's no longer with us because I
Right.
put him out.
I love what Roro says. You want to read that?
Oh yeah, Verl says mine had to go to college or go to work. Those
Yeah.
were the rules.
Right. I think you have to have. You do have to, just like we talk about Roro women while we're dating. I think mothers and fathers have to have standards for their children to grow up.
Mm,
And in our culture, in American culture, and I know in some cultures, the kids and the family stay multi generations for as long as they want. But in our culture, typically we send our kids out into the world to go to college, go to work, And we expect that probably at 22, 23, they'll get if they went off to college or they've been to trade school to get a good trade, they'll be able to be self-sufficient. And I think that little Jamie is what, like 20, what?
26.
He's 26, yeah. So.
And in his defense, even though he's 26 now, he's getting a little longer in the tooth because he's going to be pushing that 30 ball in a minute. Okay. But it's a tough transition, Aubrey, and to everybody in the chat. Because my mother would always say, we come right in from school, we open the refrigerator, the food is just supposed to be there. We don't care how it got there. We click the lights on, it's supposed to come on. We don't know how they're on. We don't care. They just supposed to be on. So it's a tough transition to go from feeding yourself, not feeding yourself, and not clothing yourself, not paying your own rent, not putting a roof over your head, to go to all of a sudden you have to do it for yourself. That's a tough transition to make. And that's why the training and everything, the guidance is so crucial in those moments, because when they get out there and have to do that, I always say being grown is overrated.
Yeah. Being an adult is overrated, huh?
It's overrated.
Yeah, but it's like you said, I think it is an increment. So that's a lot of times it's the training, being away at college, learning to keep up with things at college, learning to pay your tuition at college or trade school. Just, there's different ways of adulting, but how you get there, just the point is that you get there. And hopefully, not all kids have parents that are going to encourage them and save them if they fall between the cracks. But we'll move on.
Real quick, Aubrey, one thing about that. Yeah. I remember when I got my first piece of mail with my name on it. My mother went and checked the mailbox. She came and handed me something that had my name on it. I was so excited because I felt like, oh man, this is my validation. I'm getting older, but I got my own mail and I was excited. My mother looked at me. She said, "It'll pass."
Right? Because most of the mail that comes with your name on it, we know what those are. Those are bills.
That's it. That's
electric, the gas, the rent, the mortgage, those are bills.
So
your car insurance, your life insurance, those are bills.
So it got to the point where I hated checking the mailbox. Right. So, but yeah, that is funny.
Okay, so winter things. Getting back to we're in the scene now with Winter and Sherelle, and so Winter thinks that Sherelle should tread lightly with the rain. And she makes that comment, she tread lightly. So then we're over to the Silver's home, and Quicksilver is excited. He's holding Ashley's book, Do That Ish, and sugar honey iced tea is the word at the end. He's holding her book and he's talking to his wife. And he says, he's a little concerned that she didn't talk to him about their son Antonio being expelled from middle school. And he asks, so the son comes in, he calls the son to the living room where they're both seated. And he asked his son what happened and why was he expelled from school. You want to expand on what the son said?
Yeah, he said that he had left his jacket somewhere in class or whatever. When he came back, his jacket was gone. Mm-hmm. He knew who took it. He approached it. He took the guy's bag, and when the guy came to confront him about getting my bag back, then he said, "Give my jacket back." They got into a fight. And that's what it was about. So Quick basically told his son, there are better ways to deal with that or handle that situation than the way you handled it. Because if you had took that boy's bag and he had a gun or drugs in there, you in possession of it, now you in trouble. And what I agree with what Quick said was, he said, with all decisions that we make during the course of a day and during the course of our life, because even in one day, we make hundreds of decisions in a day, hundreds. Okay, upon hundreds. Okay, one bad decision could affect your entire life. One, you know what I mean? So when you learn, decision making is a skill. We have to learn how to make better decisions. Okay. Now on the flip side of that, okay, you're not gonna just have people taking stuff from you. It ain't that kind of party, as my mother used to say. At some point, you got to let people know, listen, this is mine. Don't touch it. If you touch it, there's going to be a problem. Okay? Because if people don't feel that fear in you to respect you, because fear breeds respect. And if people don't respect you, they'll keep trying you and trying you and trying you. And at some point, you got to put a stop to that.
Right. Well, that's one way to look at it. But I guess for me, I'm looking at it also to what Quick is saying is sometimes um, we got to come out of this culture of no snitching, even at school and even at a young age. We tend to sometimes people in our culture feel like everything is snitching. I think the thing could have been to go to the principal office and have them to do the search. Say that you suspected that this person took this item. Not every time is it required that you get physical with a person, and I know that's an approach you might have, but I'm just saying I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah, not always the answer, but sometimes you may be left with no choice. Is what I'm saying. If that's the last resort and you have to resort to it, you have to resort to it. But it's not always your first choice, or shouldn't be your first choice.
No, it really to me should never be your first choice to
Mm,
what to hit somebody. What if you're wrong? What if it's not even that person that has it? What if a little girl took it because she has a crush on you? Maybe she took it and wanted you to come after her. So I mean, you just don't know at this point, right?
right.
But I get what you're saying, though. I really do. I thought it was a good conversation that he had with his son, and I love, like you said, Alex, that Quick said that we're all, and it made me really think too, because this is not just for children, but we're all just one choice away from living. And I'm paraphrasing now again. We're all just one choice away from living a totally different life.
Yep.
Like that's with anything, and that's why I say you can't be so quick to anger and so quick to want to fight people, because if you fight, to me, if you grow up fighting as a child, you're going to end up fighting as an adult, and you're never
Mm,
going to learn problem solving skills. And what
mm,
that's going to do is put you behind the eight ball, just like Jamie, little Jamie, we were talking about earlier. That's going to put you behind the eight ball, because eventually you're going to either get unalived or you're going to go to jail. You're going to have a record.
right. Right. 'Cause, I mean, even the Bible says, "Be angry, but sin not." I mean, the Father Himself knows we're going to get angry. He gave us that emotion. He just don't want us to go overboard with the anger. He don't want us to go to bed angry. He don't want us to harm our fellow man. Even though we get angry, we have to be very practical and think things through rationally before
That
proceeding. You know what I
that's a
mean?
that's an excellent verse that you're quoting too. That is absolutely correct. It's okay to feel that emotion, but like you talked about so often on your channel too, on magnetic repellent, that the thing is all of us have to learn control of our emotions.
Yeah,
It's one
absolutely.
it's one thing to feel a way, but it's another thing to act because you feel a way.
Mm. And
So
Aubrey, it's
mhm.
funny because the environment I come from, growing up in the streets and that culture, it's like people couldn't even say anything to us, Aubrey. It was terrible. Somebody walk up to you and go, "Hey, what's up?" You go, "What? What you say?" If you didn't hear them clearly, right
Yeah.
away you ready to fight. And then I just said, "What's up?" Oh, what's up, man? It's
Ugh,
like, you know what I mean? But you got to get yourself out of that. And it takes a long time to get yourself out of that mindset because you always in a combative mindset. And that can
there's
get you hurt.
that's interesting that you bring that up, because there's some people I know that are like that, and I wonder why they are always so quick to be upset. And like to what your point is, a lot of times it could be their upbringing, or it could be their environment. I'm sorry, their environment that they grew up in. That's kind of how they're hardwired at this point. But we're moving forward. Joy and Sherelle are chatting about Arena's conversation with Sherelle, right? And regarding Sherelle's husband Black. And so the word shady comes up. And I don't know, something about that word shady is just triggering Sherelle. She does not like the word shady, okay?
No. Mm-mm.
Joy Joy says that and then Joy tells her, she says, "Well, I didn't use that word shady." And they go on to talk a little bit, but it's clear that the two of them, um, Joy is standing her ground that how she feels about Black, that he was not a good businessman, and that he basically was the demise of their group, Mambo Sauce.
Yeah.
And so the two of them agree to disagree, and they part ways. And we see now we're into Jamie and little Jamie meeting up for the counseling session. And so, not surprisingly, little Jamie, he's nervous about this session. He doesn't know, probably has never been to a counseling session, let alone a counseling session that's not just private with he and the counselor, but it's he and his father. And all of that energy that he and his father have, and that tension that they have, is brought into this counseling session. Um, the counselor asks who is going to be the first to tell him what's actually going on. And Jamie Senior says he will tell him, and he tells him that it's because little Jamie, while he can take care of his lifestyle, but apparently he can't pay his own bills, including um, tickets, speeding tickets that he got, and he didn't like that his son can't pay his own speeding tickets, and more importantly, that his son texted him and said that that little Jamie's girl is the only one holding him down. Your thoughts on this?
Well, you know, all that we've gotten into that before. I guess he's just reiterating how they got to this point with the counselor. But what I like about Jamie Sr. in the session was after he said all of that, then he took accountability for how he handled it, the part he played in the demise of the relationship up to this point. Or maybe it was my law enforcement background and so forth, and maybe I was a little hard and so forth. And
I have been drinking. I have been
yeah, I
drinking.
had been drinking, and the counselor said, no excuses. I'm not gonna let you off the hook. You know, so the counselor held him accountable, but Jamie Senior also took accountability. And when his son, if you notice, Aubrey, when his son looked over at him and saw that he was taking accountability, and the therapist was not letting his dad off the hook, the wall started to come down.
Yeah, it did. They did. I noticed that.
Yeah, it's almost like the weight of the world lifted up off Jamie Jr. shoulders. So
Right.
because he's like, my dad now is facing another man who's telling him you could do it differently. You can be better. Okay. And he's agreeing to that. He understands because it's coming from another man face to face.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was so glad when I saw this scene. I said they did absolutely the right thing. They picked a male counselor. They picked a black male counselor. That was exactly the right thing. They didn't need a woman. They didn't need a Caucasian. They didn't need an Asian. They didn't need a Latino.
Nope.
They needed a black male counselor. Nothing else would do for these two men, and particularly for Jamie Sr.
Great
He
point.
needed someone that he could respect, and then also, and another thing, not only that, the black male was not, like fresh out of college, not a 25-year-old, not a 26-year-old. This man has lived some life and has some grays in his beard. Hey, this is somebody that these people can say he's had some life experience of his own.
Yes. That's an excellent point, Aubrey. Excellent. That they had to have a black male counselor with some wisdom, with some age on him. He's a big guy. Okay.
Handsome.
So
Oh, that's
yeah,
just
big
me.
guy.
Let me
Yeah,
not.
that's just
Let me
you.
not.
Yeah.
Let me wipe the drool off my mouth. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna go there, but that's you.
He's good looking,
Yeah, but so he's a big guy. He can stand up there with Jamie Senior and tell him, listen, you can do better, so forth. And that was big for Jamie Jr. to see that because he may have never seen that in his whole life. And so in seeing that, his walls came down, and he began to take some accountability for his own behavior instead of playing victim. And when the counselor asked him directly, he said, "What is it that's stopping you from reaching your greatest potential?" And Jamie Jr. started dancing around. I don't know. I mean, it could be, yeah. And the counselor said, you're the only one stopping you. That's it. Don't look outside. Don't look at your parents. Don't look at me. Don't look at your sisters and brothers. You're the one. Look in the mirror. And I think coming from the counselor, he accepted that. Had that came from his father, he would not have accepted that. And this is why I tell people all the time, independent third parties who are non-biased in your situation, non-biased in your situation, aka counselors, are very crucial in your development. Very crucial. Because I used to be against counseling until I went and got counseling.
A lot of black people are. A lot of African American people, and I hate to say it, I hate to generalize, but not all, but oftentimes many people in our community are, and particularly male people, men, teenage boys, middle school boys, and I'm not sure why that is. I've not had any bad experiences with when I was in school with counseling. You have your I don't know, about you, but back when I was coming up, you had your middle school counselor, you had even your grade school counselor, you had your high school counselor, and the high school counselor is really important because a lot of times they're helping you to get into college or figure out if you need to go to a trade school, asking you what you're good at and testing you and finding out. Just counselors are good. I mean,
Yeah.
I have been in therapy, and I highly recommend it. I think everybody needs at least one session. But yeah, this counselor that they had, I thought, to get back to your point, Alex, I felt like he did an excellent job of holding both the Jamies accountable, telling senior Jamie you can't blame alcohol or the fact that you're a cop. There's plenty of cops that do get along with their children. They do have a more empathetic side that they show to their children. And somehow, no matter how you were raised, Jamie, you've got to be able to show your son that you love him. You've got to have some patience with him and maybe help him to develop more into this man that you know that he can be, because for whatever reason there were some steps missed along the way,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
And
And
I love the fact too that the counselor,
oh,
basically, what was that, Aubrey?
there was one more thing I was just going to say,
Okay.
and that Jamie, one last thing, that Jamie Senior, that he had to learn how to control his temper, because that's an
Mm.
issue.
Yeah.
That's an issue with Jamie,
Yeah. He has
in my opinion.
some anger management issues that he has to rectify.
Yeah, well, yeah, just right. Why are you, like you said earlier, to be angry? But what is it you can do to control that? How you speak to your children, and maybe how you speak to your wife.
Hmm. Absolutely. And as I was getting ready to say, I like the fact that the counselor left the door open for Jamie Jr. to contact him if he ever felt the need to unalive himself or harm himself in any way, because he asked him. He said, "Listen, when's the last time you thought about doing yourself some harm?" And Jamie Jr. says, "Oh, that was a while ago. A while ago." He said, "What's a while
Yeah,
ago?"
I was
He said,
like, right,
"What's a while ago? A month. A month. You know, that's nothing. You just thought about it." He said, "So you know what?
right.
I'm gonna ask your father to leave the room. I'm gonna have your father excused because I want to talk to you." And he basically left the door open. You're gonna have my contact information. You call me because people like you are the reason I got into this business. Because I understood the need to help, because life is stressful. There are plenty of us who have thought, myself included, I don't want to be here anymore. This is too painful. It's too
Wow.
crazy. It's too a lot of stuff. It crosses your mind. Now
Right.
whether
Oh
you
yeah.
now whether you go and actually put a plan into action is something different. But it does cross our mind.
It has. It has. It has for many people, like you said. I think that, to me, it seems like that thought right there, at various levels, is part of the human condition, right? To be
Mm-hmm.
sad, to be hurt, to feel sometimes hopeless. And I think that's where the ideation for unaliving oneself comes from. You feel like everything is so hopeless and like you're a burden to everyone around you. Because listen to this. This is what little Jamie, I wanted, and this is one thing we missed, and we're gonna kind of wrap this section up. But little Jamie was saying that, like you said, it was a while ago. And when the counselor asked him, he said, "Yeah, just a month. It was a month ago." I was like, "Okay," because yeah, that was just recently. And he says there was times when he had no gas in his car, no fuel, no food in the home. He had none of these things, and he felt like he was a burden, and things were just hopeless. And I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, well, wow, like, um, on the other hand, Jamie Senior was over there. They show him in a confessional saying, "Well, I thought my son had it good. He's a good looking young man. He's young. He comes from a family that's affluent, has a beautiful home." And so Jamie Senior sees it as he has so much more going for him than maybe he might have had at his age, right? But the thing different about it, I believe that Jamie Senior at 25, 26 was already in the police department, creating and developing a career. This Jamie, on the other hand, has no career, doesn't have a job, right?
Right.
And then father is putting all these pressures on him and talking to him and belittling him. And these things have become compounding. And who knows, even though he says his girl has his back, can you imagine a woman living with a man who has no gas in his car? Can you
Hmm.
imagine what she might be saying to him?
Hmm.
And if they had no food in their home, because I had to think when he said there's no food in the home, he has to be talking about the girlfriend's house. He's not talking about his mom and dad's house. They probably got lobster in the refrigerator and steak.
Right. Right. It's like I said, as a child, you come home and pull the refrigerator door open. You just expect the food to be there. You don't care how it got there. But
Yeah.
now he go over his girlfriend's house. You know, she works. She has bad weeks. It's not a pay week. So he opened the refrigerator. There's nothing there. He's like, "Oh, what is this? I don't know. I don't know what this is about." you know, and even at 26, it's still an adjustment for him, not understanding food just don't appear out of midair. It's just not. You got to go out there and fill that fridge. You know, I I remember once as a kid, my stepson and his mom went to my stepson wanted something, and his mom said, "Well, I don't have the money for it right now,"
Mhm.
and
Right.
he says, in his youthful naivete, "Oh, just go to the machine and get some money out," because he didn't understand. I got to put the money in first to get it out. I can't just go to it, you know. I
Oh
can't,
wow.
I can't just go to an ATM machine and request that money come out of it.
You're
You see
right.
what I'm saying?
Like the bank don't owe me anything if I don't already have it in there. It's just not in there. I get it.
Right, the
Read.
thinking.
Read this comment that LMV dropped on us. I think this is interesting.
What's up, Ellen? What's going on? Jamie's problem and quick at times think they have to parent the same way they were brought up. I get it, but the kids are not the same. Absolutely. I mean, that's spot on because, and let me tell you why Ellen makes a great point. When you were raised dirt poor in the hood, crime ridden, drug ridden, all kind of stuff going on, and you get out of that, and you're raising your kids now a suburbs, privileged lifestyle, whatever. You can't raise them the same. You're not from the same culture and environment. You can't raise them the same way. It's totally different style of parenting. You know, when I was coming up, single mother, 3 boys in the city, my mother beat us. We got beatings. That's back in the day when you could beat a child. Okay. So she was by herself with 3 boys.
Yeah.
Okay. But when I had my children, you know, and I was married to my first wife, we were doing better. We moved out to Staten Island and it was nice and suburbs. You know, my children were not raised the way I was raised.
No,
But I tried to handle my son the way I was raised.
you
And
can't.
I was wrong for that. You see what I'm saying? So you can't
Right.
do that. You can't do that. So I definitely agree with what Ellen was saying.
Right. And our kids, I'm going to say this too. Our kids, in my opinion, no matter where they're raised or where they're coming from, like these generations that are coming behind us, right? They're weaker. They have access to technology. So some may say they're smarter. I'm not so sure about that because if you ask them to problem solve without a computer and without Google, I'm not so sure they'd even be able to. I don't even know if some of these kids know what a dictionary is, all right? A set of encyclopedias or whatever. But my point is they're weaker. The Bible talks about this, that each generation will get weaker and weaker. So you cannot crush their souls. You cannot crush their spirits by demeaning them, talking about them, putting them down. You actually have to get eye level with them and talk to them as if they're human beings because guess what? They actually are. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the piece that Jamie Sr. was kind of missing is that he wanted to use that militaristic style of parenting that was used on him, like what you're saying, Alex, this
Mm.
rough style that your mom used on you. And I can relate to that a little bit. My mom was pretty gentle with me, but my dad, like me and my dad, like I was a daddy's girl, but my dad, like he was strict. He was hard on me in a lot of ways. And I think maybe that's kind of where I got my parenting style from. But
Mm.
there was definitely moments in raising my children where I was like, well, how come this is not working? And it's because I'm not empathizing with them and I'm being hard on them. And much like Jamie Sr. seems to be in this scene and in this experience with his son, it's really that he's not listening to his son. He's not
Yeah.
listening to understand. He's listening so that he can respond back and be snappy and smart, and he's ready at any moment. It seems like to backhand his son across the face. Not saying that he did, but just that's what it feels like. Okay, I'm just telling you how it feels as a viewer. And Jamie Senior, Jamie, little Jamie, you guys are welcome to come on and interview after the season is over. But this is what I'm getting as a viewer. Honestly, I'm getting that sense that, like, my father once backhanded me, and I'm telling you, like, this is decades later, I can still feel the burn. And it's the only time he ever backhanded me, but he backhanded me in my face. And the reason why he did it, you want to know why, Alex, why he did that to me?
Absolutely, I want to know.
He did it because we were in a store and I was saying someone was stupid, and he thought he misheard me, and he thought I said that my mother, his wife, was stupid. And if anybody knows anything old school, a man, a real father, he's not going to let anybody say anything about his wife, whether it be the child or the biggest guy, and he's a little guy. You aren't getting away with that. So my father just hauled off and backhanded the crap out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, like, my ear was burning. I didn't even know if I was going to be able to hear out that ear for a while. But you just can't do that. You can't do that to these kids coming up nowadays. And like you said, maybe the kids, you giving them a nicer life. They live in the suburbs. They're used to this. They're used to that. These kids today, you cannot raise them the way you were raised if you were raised in a rough fashion like some of us were.
Yeah, and the thing is too, and that's not to say tough love doesn't have its place, because it does. And we reference the Bible a lot in this segment, in this podcast thus far. And I want to bring up another biblical thing. Remember the lame woman? She could never get into the water to get healed because everybody would be in her way and block her and stuff like that. And then she figured, now, because here come Jesus. And she figured, oh, here come Jesus. Now he gonna let me in. He gonna let me in that water. And he walks right by her, and she's like, listen, help me. You're Jesus. I heard all these great things. And he looked at her like, you better get up and get in that water. You better go ahead and get in it. You better do your thing. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that's basically what he was saying to her. If you want to get in there bad enough, you better figure out a way to get in that water, because I ain't going to be here all the time. You see what I'm saying? So there is a time where tough love has its place. If Jesus can do it, we can do it. The thing is, like I said earlier, it's how we do it. There has to be a method to the madness.
Look who's in the comments section. You want to read that?
Oh, look at that. Aunt Roz in the place. For Lou Jamie not to know at the age of 26 that he needed to work. Oh, wow. Maybe Big Jamie and Irena didn't prepare him to make it on his own, but expected him to. That's a great point.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of steps, and I'm writing this out. There's a lot of steps between point A and point Z,
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of steps. I think a lot of parents, at some point when the kids become middle school, teenagers, whatever, like you said, things about money that we don't often share with our kids, about financial literacy, about banking, like you pointed out that, your stepson thought that money was just be in the bank and you could just pull it out even if you hadn't put any in. Those are things that at some point you sit down and you talk to your kids about. But the whole thing about careers is kind of is nuanced. It's more steps to it than just you just grow up and you have a job. No, have you ever noticed this? That when we were growing up, adults used to ask you all the time, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be? I noticed it seems like here recently the children coming up nowadays, you don't hear people ask them that anymore. Or if you ask them that yourself, they'll think that's odd. Why are you asking me that? I'm just 10, or I'm just 11, or I'm just 12. Well, 12 is just a half a blink away from adulthood. 13 in the Jewish religion, you're considered an adult. And you ever wondered why? Because you become accountable for what you're doing, the decisions that you're making.
Right. That was a common question when we were growing up. What do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I'm going to be a fireman, a policeman, a doctor. We would say those kind of things, because we had an idea from watching, who we looked up to, or on TV, what looked good on TV. Because my older brother, because of the Brady Bunch, he wanted to be an architect like Mike Brady. That's what he was seeing on television. It looked good to him to be an architect. You have a big house.
Brother? Right, your brother.
Yeah, my brother Ricky, my
Okay.
older brother.
Okay.
Okay. On the Brady Bunch, Mike Brady was an architect, and they had
Yes,
this
he
nice
was.
big house and so forth, and he did family stuff and had a maid. So to him, that looked good. Nobody in our environment was an architect, but on television, to him, it looked good. So he wanted to be an architect for a while. So when people ask kids that when we were younger, they really wanted to know what's your thinking. We don't ask that today, because
Right.
and
And
I,
I think
and I,
that's a mistake.
I'm afraid to ask some of these kids. Every kid you ask, I want to be a rapper. I want to be a rapper. Look, if you don't sit
Only
down
in certain
somewhere,
only in certain communities. Cause see, other cultures love rap. They buy it more than our culture buys rap music, right? It's a reason why some of these rappers are billionaires. It's not because just black people are buying the music, but it's because other folks are buying the music and asking for them to perform in Dubai and all across the world globally.
it's
But
global. Yeah, it's global.
Yeah, but the problem is though, it seems to me it's not. I've never run across a white kid that thought they were going to actually grow up to be a rapper. When I talk to Caucasian kids, they want to be a doctor, they want to be a lawyer, they want to be an engineer. Now, our kids are saying they want to be a rapper or a NBA ball player. And you looking at somebody that's 5'4" and they finish growing, you're not going to be an NBA ball player. Get over yourself.
Right,
And chances are you're not going to be a rapper, not like one that actually makes money or makes
right.
millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the plan? What's the
Yeah.
real plan?
The plan is we have to normalize being an engineer, being an architect, being an accountant. We got to normalize those conversations.
Exactly. Exactly. And then find the steps, there are a lot of programs in our schools, even our public school, at least there used to be. Now my kids are adults. I like adults, like 30 something. Okay. But like when my kids were in school, anything, and they went to public schools in the suburbs, anything that was related to college and college preparation and development. What's the program like here in Detroit? There's DAPSET, Detroit Area Pre-College Engineering Program. My daughter attended college at about five of the state's top colleges, including University of Michigan, Michigan State, Wayne State, Oakland University, and on and on. She went on HBCU college tours during her spring break, right? She got to go to Morgan State. She got to go to Howard, Tennessee State. She actually did two tours. So one year, one spring, she did a tour up north and then one down south. So these are things to me, like I tell parents, and even one of my close girlfriends, I tried to get her to do this with her children at the same time with mine, and she didn't have time for it. And then, unfortunately, when it became time for her daughter to go to college, no college would let her daughter in. No university. I'm sorry, no university. And she was very surprised that her daughter had to start at a community college, which I told her is no big deal. Community colleges are just as good as universities. It's just for a year or two. But because of her daughter's grades and because she didn't take the proper classes in high school. But see, a lot of parents are so busy when their kids get to high school, they're not properly guiding them or making sure that they're guided as to what they need to do.
Because we're
Did
so
you?
busy. We're so busy talking about. I want my kids to have what I didn't have. Well, what didn't you have? You had food. You had a roof over your head. You had love. You had clothing. What didn't you have? What you didn't have was materialism, and we replaced love with materialism, and that's what's wrong, and that's what's a big problem today.
Yeah, yeah. I see that. You see what LMV is saying?
Uh,
I
these kid, these kids nowadays will call the police on you, which is true, because society tells them they can do that. If I threatened to call the cops on my mom, she would have got me before I finished the sentence. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And Ellen, I'm gonna tell Ellen and everybody a quick story. When I was a young kid, I was a thief, right? I stole a penny from my mother to go to the store and get penny candy. I'm old now, but I remember penny candy.
okay, yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, wait, we're running neck and neck. Because if you remember penny candy, because candy now with inflation is like $1.50.
Forget it. You know what I mean? Remember, you get a penny, go to the store, pick a piece of candy out the jar. That was a
Little
penny.
candy. You're little tiny ones. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Finish the story.
So I stole a penny from my mother, right? And she went ballistic. No thieves will be in my house. And she called the cops on me. Now I'm a little boy. And the cops came and she's dragging me down the hallway of the building we lived in. Get him out of here. And the cops are like, "Ma'am, please get him out of here, or I'll whip your so and so." Telling the cops she gonna whip their behinds if they're not okay. So I feared my mother more than I could ever fear any cop. And that's why I never got in trouble, legally, as a child. Never. Because I said, if I got to go back home to this woman, I'd rather be in jail. And that's real
Wow.
talk.
Yeah, that's real talk right there, right? And I think about my daughter. She once told me that 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 the police, would get me if I spanked her. And I said, well, you know what? Here's the phone. I handed her the phone. I said, because I'm getting ready to start right now. So you tell them, okay? And then, but what I told her was, I said, let me say this though. But when they come and they take me away, they're gonna also take you away and put you in a foster home. And you know what? In the foster home, you'll be lucky if bad things don't happen to you there that are much worse than me spanking you for being wrong and trying to create a person of integrity in you now. You'll be much worse off.
Mm-hmm. They don't understand that at that age, but you
You did.
absolutely right.
She did.
Oh,
No, she understood. Because she was
mm,
about, she was of a good age. She was of a
mm.
good age. She was probably in middle school, so she understood. She understood because she took the phone and she hung it up herself.
She hung it up real fast.
She hung it up herself because I mean, like if I gotta spank you, I don't know. Like it's just me, my mentality. Even if I had to raise grandchildren right now, my thought is, and I've seen cops that have talked about this. That seriously, if they're brought out for a parent really judiciously spanking their child, disciplining them. Now, somebody in the comments, I had this up on the screen for a minute, Monique, what you had said, that's different. The difference between actually just physically abusing a child, there's a difference between spanking them and physically abusing them. And that what that parent did, yeah, that's when you call the police.
Right.
That's when you call the
Yeah.
police. If somebody is doing
Yeah.
something like you're like that person, that child is an adult, and as if no, that's wrong.
Yeah. That's totally different. Yeah, I saw what Monique said. That's totally different.
Right, right. But we're gonna move on with because we done got caught up in our personal life. Y'all know everything about us right now. Don't call the popo on me. My kids are grown now, okay? Um, but yeah, but that counseling session was very much well needed, and the counselor himself, he did a wonderful job. I hope that we'll see more of him on this show later on because I think that one session there's going to probably need to be some more, and I would like it. I like that they're promoting this in our community, that to open us up to that this is really what counseling, because a lot of people don't even know what goes on in the counseling session. And it's not scary, guys. It's really not. So then joy and joy and Clifton, last scene, final scene, joy and Clifton, the Tylers, Sherelle and Black, plus the entire many in the community are joining the Silvers for Quicksilver's street naming celebration. Sherelle apparently is a little bit hyped to kind of meet up with Arena and have a talk with her, even though this is about Quick, right? Quick is greeting his friends. He's so happy to see everybody's giving him hugs and congratulations. And then we see this mayor of Baltimore has announced that it is also Quicksilver Day and the street naming is about to commence. And as that has ended, now we go to Sherelle, and Sherelle heads over to talk to Arena. What do you think about this? I mean, it's a great thing that Quick is having the street named after him. Oh, I'm sorry. And Quick, he gets emotional because he lets everybody know that he wishes his parents could be there because they're no longer with us. And he says especially his dad. What'd you think about that, Alex?
Yeah, and his grandmother was there, which also touched him. He said, "That's Grammy over there. That's Granny over there." And she
Yeah,
raised her hand and stuff like that.
There's G Ma.
Yeah, G-Ma. But yeah, I mean first of all, it's a huge thing to have a street named after you in the same streets that you ran, where you created chaos or had chaos against you. To have that street named after you years and years later is a huge thing, because that says something about your development. You know, Quick has amassed this worldwide, this global name for himself, and came up out that muck and mire. And he's admired, and he do a lot of work in his community. Apparently, there's a lot of work in that community. So, to be honored for that is huge, and we all want our parents to be there. But I wish Quick understood that they see you, bruh. They got you. They see you. You know what I mean? And they know, particularly his father, since he singled his father out. Your father know he did a good job. They know they did a good job despite the environment. Because look at you now. So they see you. And I'm proud of it, because we interview Quicksilver.
Yes.
And so I'm very proud of him. We just finding this out. I may reach out to him again to congratulate him on that. But I can understand him being flustered and being brought to tears, because he almost had me in tears watching it. You know what I mean? Because I know it's like all the weight of the world is like, I really became something. Because most kids that come up in that environment don't expect to become anything. You really don't expect it, Aubrey. If you do, it's a great thing, but you really don't expect it. And a lot of us get stuck, not just in that community, but in that mindset. So we carry it wherever we go. We carry that mindset and cause destruction wherever we go. So to come up out of that and become what he became, I think is a wonderful thing.
Yes, yeah, it is. I'm responding to Monique here. She has an interesting story I really appreciate. And let me see, Kimberly, I'm gonna put this up on the screen for a minute. This is awesome. And by the way, guys, be sure to subscribe to Magnetic Repellent. It's so important to get his channel. Just keep it growing, guys. Support the YouTubers, the podcasters that you love and enjoy here on this platform, because without your support we can't stay here. We just can't. It's impossible. Kimberly reviews, also another YouTuber, guys, and she's with us on Sundays. Be sure to subscribe to her channel too. Kimberly Review says, I chose to start at a community college, exactly, and glad I did, because I transferred and graduated from the university with no debt related to school. Absolutely. It's a very good way. You're right. It's a very good way to start school, and I recommend it. But I was saying that just it was in terms of the example I used earlier for this particular parent who was like really more name conscious and was trying to keep up with the people around her. She thought her daughter would be able to go right off to university and was very much disappointed. But when it was time, when her daughter was in middle school and high school, she didn't have time to take the same daughter to programs that would have helped her to really even get a scholarship, because there's plenty of programs. One of the ones, what is it? Anybody familiar with Upward Bound? If that program is still in existence, a lot of times students that go through Upward Bound for 2 to 4 years of their high school development at public schools, they end up getting scholarships. There's so many scholarship programs, and a lot of times so many years that these scholarships end up like the money is never even used, right? Like if your kid plays golf, if they're a minority kid and they play golf, they play tennis, there's so many scholarships that just never get touched, because everybody thinks that basketball is the only way to make it, when there's so many other sports. Being in the band, playing an instrument, that's so cool. Like,
Right.
you got a kid that plays the flute or plays the violin. You know any kids that play the violin, Alex?
Not off the top of my head, no. Oh, absolutely, my granddaughter. What am I talking about?
Yeah,
My
I'm
granddaughter.
like, okay, let me have to clunk him on the back of his head.
Yeah. Yeah.
What in the
My
world?
my 11-year-old grandbaby plays the violin. I got a brain fart at that moment. So
You sure did. I know you tired. I think I was gonna think if you had some hair, maybe that lady had put some braids in your head, and maybe that's why your head is not working. Okay. Well, wait a minute. Did we finish it? Did we finish up talking about this
No, because
argument?
we didn't get into
Yeah.
Sherelle and
Okay, yeah,
Elaine. Yeah.
let's get to
And-
that. Okay, I'm sorry, we got off track, guys. We got off track. So we're
yeah.
talking about the street name, which was very important. But last but not least, so the last scene we see, like I said, Sherelle is going over. She's headed over to Arena. I don't know what it was about Arena bouncing around looking fine, and she always does. Go Arena, go Arena. Arena is like a black Barbie doll. She is so gorgeous, and her figure is perfect, right? Um, she's bouncing around. So Sherelle and her husband, they head over there, and now Sherelle is saying, you know what? Joy told me, and Joy is standing right next to Arena, by the way, and Clifton is there, and Big Jamie Senior. When Sherelle asked her, well, you know what? Why did you use the word shady? And Arena, I mean, it was so funny. Arena was so hilarious and so on point. She went and used her phone and looked it up and said, well, a person who is untrustworthy, what was it, Alex? What did she say? Untrustworthy and some other stuff. That equals shady.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a couple of words in there, unscrupulous. It was a few words in there.
Unethical. Yes,
Yeah,
you're right.
unethical, things like that. That mean shady.
Right.
A couple of things. First and foremost, Irena should have never discussed her and Joy's conversation outside of them two to Sherelle to start this whole thing a couple of episodes ago, right? She should have never did that. Should have kept her mouth closed or whatever. But since the cat's out the bag, okay, whether Joy said he didn't have any morals, he didn't have any scruples, whatever he did some toxic stuff. All right, okay, that's what shady is. So Sherelle is arguing over this one word. She's worried about this one word. You said he was shady. You said he was shady. Did your
Mm-hmm.
husband do? Did your husband do what Joy said he did? Forget the word shady. Take the word shady out of it. Did your husband do what Joy said he did? She never addressed that. She just kept saying, I don't like shady. My husband ain't shady. My husband ain't shady. Okay, she wouldn't address the issue Joy was getting at. She never did, if you
Right.
notice that.
No, she
Okay.
didn't. She did
And
not.
and it's so selfish on DJ Quicksilver's day to bring that up there. You had no business doing that there. That's why I admire Joy in that instance, because Joy didn't say a word. Nothing. She said, this is Quicksilver's day. I'm not even getting in that. If they want to argue, let them argue. I'm not getting in that. And she didn't, you know. So I just think it was very selfish of Sherelle to do that on Quicksilver's day. She's stuck on one word, because I think maybe even in the back of her mind, she know her husband could have did some things differently. He did some things in error, because she's not addressing that. She's stuck on this shady word. Deal with the
Wow.
issue.
Right. Right. And then the other part of it, do you feel like too that maybe because apparently Sherelle was meeting her husband as the group was basically, it seems like as if, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, and on the replay, it seems like Sherelle was meeting her husband Black as the group Mambo Sauce was breaking up, right? So she doesn't really know all the ins and outs of what happened. I mean, just because you're married to a person doesn't mean that they're going to tell you, they're going to give you their version of the story, right? Doesn't mean that everything they're saying, that there's not another side to that story.
Yeah,
I think that's the other part of it that you have to kind of step back. And then, of all things, why at this man's celebration are you starting an argument?
exactly. Selfish. Selfish.
Wow.
Got to make
Wow.
it about you. You got to make it about you. It's not about you today. You could have held that for another day, but you had to do it that day. So that, to me, that's very selfish.
It was selfish, and but one thing about it, so we see that Ashley was trying to mediate these ladies, because she was like trying to protect her husband's image and this event. She was trying to keep it positive and uplifting, um but Arena was not backing down. uh uh let's see what Roro is saying here. What Roro, what did you say? Someone should have called the police. No, that's not gonna. That would really made it bad. Roro. I think that would have made it worse. I don't know if the police didn't necessarily need to be called, in my opinion, because nobody was physically fighting. It's just a debate of words. I think that, again, though, my thing is that wasn't classy at all. That Sherelle did that and picked that time.
Right. Not at all. Not at all. She could have waited and did that. And the thing with Source, the group that Joy and Black were in, what there's a couple of things that really is sticking a nail in Joy's craw, is that one, Black was with her friend and started cheating with Sherelle. Okay. Joy's very adamant about that. Okay. So
Right.
in other,
That's her version of it.
that's her
Yes.
version of it, right? Also, she says that Mambo Sauce was on the verge of something huge, right? And then Black did some underhanded stuff or whatever, and the group dismantled based off his incompetence or whatever you want to say about it, shady or whatever. Okay, but
Hmm.
she didn't use that word, but that's basically what it comes down to. And
Well, right.
the group dismantled and missed out on an opportunity. So those 2 points she's very adamant about. And those are the 2 points that Sherelle is not addressing.
She's
She's
not
avoiding
addressing
all
that.
of that.
Right. And even her husband, he's right there with her, and he didn't seem to address any of that either. If you noticed that,
Mm-hmm. And,
did you?
and you,
Did you?
no,
Did you
he's
notice
not.
that?
I
Right.
noticed that too. He didn't open his mouth.
Mm-mm. I mean, I guess he felt like it's just, it's the women arguing. I'm going to let them have their say. But I seen Clifton. He was looking like he was ready to jump in at any moment. He's very protective. One thing I'll say about Clifton that I really enjoy, he's very protective of Joy. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be interesting to see as this season goes on, how he bridles that protection that he feels for Joy.
Well, in the trailer, we see that Clifton and Black may have a moment next episode. We'll see how far it goes. Because they're sitting around with the four guys having a conversation, and Black says something to Cliff that he really don't appreciate. So we'll see where that goes.
Right, right. But read this. This is an interesting comment here. Won't you read that for me, please?
All right, Ross says, Joy led her to believe that she didn't say anything because she didn't use the word shady. She threw the rock and hit her hands. Okay. I don't think Joy hit her hands. I think Joy is very upfront and blunt. I don't like you. I don't like Black. I don't like you. She's not mincing words. Okay, she didn't hide anything. When her and Sherelle sat down to eat, Joy was very clear in her body language, the way she looked. I don't want to be here.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
if you notice if you notice, Aubrey, they didn't even have food in front of them. It's like, I'm not gonna be here long.
No, they did. It was like I think a beverage, and that was it. Like
That was it.
They didn't even try for a salad. Like this is gonna be quick and it's gonna be over with.
Right. We're not gonna be here long, so I don't want to be here with you. Joy is very matter of factly like that. She's very matter of fact.
She reminds me of myself in that way.
Right.
Like I'm not gonna sit up and go back and forth with you. I'm gonna tell you what it is, and that's gonna be it. And if you disagree, you just disagree. It's okay. It's all right
Right.
that we're not always on the same page. Roro says that Sherelle knew her husband was shady. She told Joy that she knew about him giving the band an ultimatum. And Monique King, our own Monique King says, Joy gotta let that 2007 hurt go.
You
No,
know what?
They didn't order, Gio. They didn't even take the time to order, so you knew they weren't gonna be there long. That lunch was like really just like not even a lunch. What would you call that? Like
I
a
don't know what.
break.
Yeah, brunch, whatever.
A
Just a
break,
drink.
like a drink. Let's meet for a drink or a quick drink, not an alcoholic drink. I think they were drinking looked like smoothies or something.
Mm-hmm. And some stuff just cuts deep. And Monique is saying Joy need to let it go. Some stuff cuts very deep. I mean, if you had an opportunity with the band to go off and make potentially hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars and go global and stuff, if someone did something to deter that, you want to hold on to that for a little while. Now, it doesn't have to define who you are and these different kind of things, but she has every right not to want to deal with this person, not be in the same room with this person, because you showed me a side of you that I just don't like, and I will never get over that. I can forgive you and not deal with you.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
That's my secret to peace, Alex. I can get over it. I can forgive you and just not deal with you, because if you're not bringing the peace, it's just not going to be good. It's not going to be good.
Yeah, so I disagree with Roz. Enjoyed it, and she didn't throw a rock and hide her hands in that regard.
Okay, you don't feel that way, guys.
No.
If you're still here, we thank you for being here. We enjoyed this time with you. Go ahead and hit that like button if you haven't already. We're going to be back here next Tuesday covering the same thing, Love and Marriage DC season 2. And guys, Alex, you want to tell them what you got going on your channel real quick?
Yeah, go over to Magnetic Repellent. There's a lot of videos there, a lot of shorts, a lot of great content. Go watch some of that. Leave some comments, click like on a lot of the videos, help with those algorithms over there. I'll be dropping more content soon. But yeah, Magnetic Repellent, going over there. Y'all know what it is.
They know what it is.
Yeah.
What is it, Alex? What is it really? What
Yeah,
is it really?
It's really magnetic. You'll be attracted to what I say. But like Roro said, you'll be repelled also. So,
Oh Lord. Oh, just horrible, just horrible. And guys, tomorrow is Wednesday. Looks like I may be getting the snow day. Definitely go over to Kimberly Reviews tomorrow. She'll be doing Married at First Sight live, a live watch where we watch it. You watch it on your own device. And what we do, we giggle and talk and kiki during the commercial breaks, guys. It is so much fun. I hope to see you there. And we're about to get on out of here, but we wish you love and peace. And we hope that you hit that like button because we really need it. say bye, Alex. Say bye.
all right. Say bye bye. Love y'all.
Love you guys. Bye now.